The first ballot counting is now underway in the United States. Will there be a shift in the balance of power? Tonight, the world is waiting for the first verdict from American voters on U.S. President Donald Trump. This is DW News' special coverage of the U.S. midterm elections.
We will make America safe again.
America's at a crossroads right now.
Are you all ready to win?
What do Texans want? We want to build the wall.
The character of our nation is on the ballot.
We will make America great again. Thank you, Missouri. Thank you.
Will Americans choose to follow the lead of President Donald Trump and the Republican Party, or push for changes to be brought by the Democrats? The battle for control of both the House and Senate is being decided tonight. DW News special coverage starts right now. I'm Brent Goff in Berlin. It's good to have you with us. Tonight, much of the world is shifting its attention to the United States, waiting to see if there will soon be a shift in power there. Tuesday was the most closely watched midterm election in modern U.S. history. Voters are choosing a new Congress, with all seats in the House of Representatives up for grabs and a majority of seats in the U.S. Senate as well. Now, the first exit polls are giving us an idea of what motivated voters today. The issue of health care is topping the list, and the president himself, according to those first exit polls, was the deciding factor for more than 50% of the voters. Well, a very important part of our coverage of this historic midterm election is coming from the capital of the United States. Our Washington bureau chief, Alexandra van Nahmen, she joins me now from Capitol Hill. Good evening to you, Alexandra. We've got these first exit polls, a CBS exit poll, reflecting what we've been hearing, that this midterm election in the minds of most voters has been an unofficial referendum on the Trump presidency.
Yes, right. And this is not coming as a surprise, I have to say, because Trump is such a polarizing figure, a divider in the White House, and because he wanted this to be all about him. At every rally, he was calling upon his supporters, telling them to pretend that he is on the ballot, even though his name is not on the ballot this time. And I was traveling across the country in the last weeks talking to his supporters, and they told me that there are many issues that matter to them, such as immigration or economy, but they also wanted to show their support in these midterm elections. And I also talked to Trump's critics, to voters registered as Democrats or independents, and they told me that they want to send a strong message to the White House, that they are upset and angry with the president's actions and with his abusive and divisive rhetoric.
And Alexandra, this CBS exit poll, it also shows that more people were concerned about health care than immigration. Does that suggest that the president was wrong to hammer the point about the caravan coming across the border and, bad U.S. immigration policy?
It can, of course, but frankly speaking, I'm not so sure about that. We know that healthcare is a very important topic for the Democrats and for many people here in the U.S. Because they are afraid that the Trump administration is going to roll back every provision of the Obamacare. That they are afraid to lose their coverage. But I also talked to many Trump supporters who told me that they think, people in Arizona or Texas, they think that immigration is also a very important issue. The question here is, however, whether more people are supporting Trump's hardline stance on immigration, or if more people are repelled by his strategy of fear-mongering on such issues such as immigration and race.
And Alexandra, turnout has been a big topic covering the campaigns leading up to this election. We know tonight that 40 million people took advantage of early voting compared to about 29 million in the last midterm election back in 2014. I mean, this significant increase is seen as a positive for the Democrats. Why is that? And is that a given tonight?
Well, I would say that nothing is given tonight when you remember what happened in 2016, so we have to be very cautious. But normally we would say that it's the Republicans who turn out to cast their vote in the midterm elections. And now seeing this huge turnout, many experts assume that it is positive for the Democrats. And I have to say that traveling a lot throughout the country showed me that the Democrats are really energized and enthusiastic about being part of these elections.
Okay, our Washington Bureau Chief Alexandra van Nahmen helping us to kick off our special coverage as the results come in from this historic U.S. midterm election. Alexandra, thank you very much. All right, we want to take a look now at the standings in the midterm elections. The House of Representatives, how things stand right now. We know that we're just talking about polling places on the east coast of the United States that closed. So there's not a lot of news to report, but it doesn't hurt to look at the numbers right now. The magic number, 218, that's how many seats in the House of Representatives that either the Democrats or the Republicans need to win tonight to be able to have control of that chamber. All right, let's take it over now and look at how the U.S. Senate is doing. We do have some news there. One race we can report for certain, and that is the independent Bernie Sanders has won re-election for his Senate seat from the state of Vermont. You see right there the magic number, 50. There are 100 U.S. Senate seats. 50 have to be taken by one party. 51 if you're the Democrats, because the U.S. Vice President is allowed to vote in the Senate, and that is Mike Pence. He is a Republican, and he's going to vote for the Republicans. So the Democrats tonight, they've got a lot of work ahead of them if they want to regain control of the U.S. Senate. All right, joining me now here in the studio is Jan Teschau. He is director of the German Marshall Fund of the United States here in Berlin, a familiar face to our viewers. Jan, it's good to have you here at the big table. I mean, this is a momentous evening, these results coming in. How important would you say that this midterm election is for Europe?
I mean, the interest that we've seen in Europe looking at these midterms is quite enormous. I mean, midterms traditionally have been a bit of an obscure oddity of the American political system to most Europeans, and now they've become the obsession over here. And the reason, of course, is Trump. Just as you said earlier on the program, he was the decisive factor in bringing people out to vote on both sides of the aisle. It's the same here. People want to know whether this Trump thing in America is for real, whether the Americans are actually serious about Trump, and the midterm is the next best thing to an indication.
Yeah, it's interesting, this Trump thing. We know that German media have invested a lot of resources to cover this midterm election. Trump seems to be a winner for them when we're talking about a boost in circulation, a boost in readers and users. But is there more, though, to this infatuation with Trump? I mean, is it just the love-hate relationship, or is there something more there?
I think there are two things at play here. First, the Europeans, either intrinsically, or really consciously understand that, they rely to a certain extent on the United States, on the security guarantee, on extended deterrence is still the guaranteeing kind of force behind, their freedom, their lifestyles over here. And so they must have an interest in how the political landscape in America is shifting. And the other thing, and that's perhaps a bit of a German thing also, this country really learned democracy from the United States. So it has this kind of neurotic look at the United States. If democracy in the U.S. looks, at risk, or wobbly, the Germans start to fear about their own democracy. That's a bit of a psychological thing.
It's like a mirror being held in front of them.
It's a bit of a mirror thing. It's a projection thing.
Are Europeans' expectations realistic when we're talking about the Democrats possibly taking power again in the House of Representatives, particularly when we're talking about foreign policy? Because we've heard a lot of people say that they think that foreign policy will change if the Democrats win the House.
Yeah, but that's probably too much of an expectation in this case. First of all, the House is the chamber that has the least of a say in the foreign policy of the United States. It would, of course, be some sort of limiting factor on the president, mostly psychological, I guess. But you could also make the other calculation, saying that, if he loses the House, meaning that, domestically his entire agenda is stifled or, has a hard time coming through, then he might look at foreign policy as the kind of playground for his next big wins and big victories. You know, and whether we want more Trump activism on the European side and more of Trump on the scene is something that, you know, I wonder whether that's the kind of expectation that we have.
I wonder, too, does this midterm election, does it have more importance in the minds of Germans because now they know that Angela Merkel's days are numbered in terms of political power?
Certainly, Merkel's decision to resign as the chairman of her Conservative Party adds to the overall sense of uncertainty. You know, Merkel, you know, even if you do not particularly like her, you had a sense that she was a reliable kind of, you know, force out there, a rock out there that wasn't easily moved. And if you take too many of these, you know, bedrocks out of the political scene, people start to get nervous because the one thing they don't want is too much turmoil out there.
Jan Tesha, we will be checking in with you a little bit later on throughout the night, but also in this program. Thank you.
Thank you.